In 2015, I broke up with my girlfriend. I had just turned 18, and I felt insecure and lonely. I was never a social type of person, but then more than ever, I wanted to be part of some kind of group. I wanted confirmation that my interests truly mattered, and that they weren't just mine, that there were others like me. I withdrew, metaphorically into myself and literally into my basement. I went down there every evening after school. There stood my PowerX quad stand hybrid made from wooden 4x4 beams, and my weights I made by pouring concrete into buckets. I worked out every day, but thinking about it now, I realized that it wasn't the working out that was bringing me down there. It was a desire to hear what was new with my friends, with my bros. I listened to my bros talk about topics that interested me too. Training, fighting, comedy, conspiracy theories, bears, bow hunting. Okay, maybe some of those things didn't really interest me, but the bros convinced me that those were the things worth talking about. And who were my bros? The first and most important one, the alpha bro, was Joe Rogan. He was, of course, much smarter than me, so I let him choose the rest of our crew. Sometimes Brian Callen and Brandon Schaub would join us. Sometimes UFC fighters like Cowboy Cerrone. Eddie Bravo was one of my favorite guests. But Joe and I were the constant lineup, the OGs. And while upstairs my parents were watching boring news that I didn't want to or couldn't understand, I was listening to my bros talk about the Roosevelt UFO incident and about water erosion traces on the Sphinx in Egypt. Those were topics I could handle listening to. I wanted to hear more. I wanted to hear grown, successful people I considered smarter than me, pay attention to topics that are usually mocked. For the first time, I experienced that it was possible to be part of something so interesting and, in reality, so unimportant, and not be ridiculed. Sports, for example, exist purely for entertainment. We cheer for football clubs from our city or fighters in a cage because we like their style. Whether they win or lose has no real impact on our lives, and yet millions and millions of dollars revolve around sports. Experts analyze every aspect, every detail. This player has good field vision. That fighter is a good wrestler. Comparisons are made, outcomes predicted, opinions given. And when you think about it, none of it would make sense to us, nor would we feel the need to be part of it if we didn't see that everyone around us assigns value to it. Here's an example. Some of my favorite UFC fighters are Nick and Nate Diaz. I always found their style interesting. They were never heavy hitters, but their boxing was at a high level. They followed the logic that it's better to land many lighter strikes over time than to chase a single haymaker. In that way, they wore down their opponents, who always had less stamina, because the Diaz brothers were freak triathlon athletes. My fondness for them was closely tied to the fact that Joe Rogan also liked them.
He's a fascinating cat, man, because he does triathlons. Like, he's really into doing like high endurance shit. And he gets super baked and then rides his bike and swims and runs. His endurance is ridiculous. He's got like Ironman triathlon endurance. That's why, one of the reasons why he f***s guys up. He just puts a pace on them that they can't keep up with him.
Yeah.
It's just like he's running with them. He just makes them run at his pace, and then before you know it, they're wilting and he's beating the f*** out of them. You know, he does that to everybody.
I mean, hell, sometimes I dreamed of becoming a top-level athlete or a comedian or anything else that could lead me to one day sit across from Joe Rogan and finally talk like bros. But Joe wasn't just my bro. At that time, he was my mentor, my father, and my brother. He was a reflection of me. I felt that someone understood me because he spoke my thoughts in front of millions of people instead of me. And those millions accepted the topics he presented as important, topics that interested me, but that weren't in mainstream media. Of course, sometimes some unwanted topic would creep into our conversation, like politics, inflation, or some other serious adult subject. The guys would usually resolve that quite quickly and conclude, it is what it is. Joe is also known for saying, I'm just asking questions, I don't know anything, I'm an idiot. They didn't want to get too involved. They didn't feel the need to pretend that they knew more about it than I did. Joe had been a big star for years, but he wasn't ashamed to admit he didn't know, and he wasn't ashamed to ask. He was curious. He asked the questions I wanted to ask. That image and memory of JRE existed in my mind for the last 10 or so years. Over time, I climbed out of the basement, reconciled with my girlfriend, went to college, started working, and every now and then I'd watch a clip from the podcast. Years went by and I didn't pay much attention to the signs that something was changing. The JRE was different, but I was still holding on to those memories from the golden era 10 years ago. I just wanted Joe to be my bro forever. This is the first part of my thoughts on the evolution of Joe Rogan. Thank you for your time and make sure to watch the second part.